is the net pressure in the peritubular capillary. So low pressure area, I explained it, high pressure in glomerulus because we want to make ultrafiltrate. Low pressure in the peritubular capillaries because we want to reabsorb the substances, so we kept low pressure so things can come back. Afferent and efferent arterioles, so that is again another thing, that within the single nephron, the blood supply, the afferent arteriole and the efferent arteriole, these can constrict independent of each other. That is very important. For example, prostaglandins can act on the afferent arteriole and constrict that. Angiotensin II can act on the efferent arteriole and constrict that. These two things can be controlled separately. This is very important. That gives you two levers, and that control is very important. So we'll talk about that. We'll go to the next slide here. We'll talk about the glomerular filtration. So now again, these are high level fundamentals of the renal system. GFR itself is a complete topic which we would deliver, but here what do we mean by glomerular filtration? So what we mean by that is the ultrafiltrate which is going from the glomerular capillaries, which is moving, the substance is moving from the glomerular capillaries which are here into the Bowman space and into the nephron ultimately. So this is filtration happening here. Why is it filtration happening? It is happening under the higher pressure. What is the substance called here which appears in the Bowman space and nephron? That is called ultrafiltrate. Why is that called ultrafiltrate, or what is the consistency of the ultrafiltrate? It doesn't have the proteins and the lipid bound substances, otherwise the concentration of substances is the same as in plasma. Of course, it is also not blood. What does that mean? That means the blood cells are also not filtering out. So that is why this is ultrafiltrate. Alright, so back here, rate, we'll talk about GFR, but I wanted to make sure that you are aware of it and you keep this in your mind whenever the word rate appears. For example, glomerular filtration rate. Rate will mean something which is time bound. So if I say I walk here 3 or 4 steps, that is fine, that is a value, that is a number which is given to you. But if I say that within 1 second I walk 2 steps, then my rate of walking, rate, I use the word rate now, my rate of walking is 2 steps per second. So whenever the word rate is used, that means something is happening in some measured time units. So GFR, we'll talk about it. What does the rate of glomerular filtration mean? It's a very important concept. The mathematics of this is very important. The mechanics of that is very important, and we will discuss them as a separate topic. So rate at which plasma filtered into Bowman space, that is the GFR. Factors which are affecting, this is what, so part of the hemodynamics here is what are the factors which cause GFR, what are the factors which maintain GFR. So let's look at that very fast, and you have actually probably looked at those before as well. So let's see. So first I want to create once again a similar diagram for our structure. Heart, we got this. I will make glomerulus like this, efferent arteriole, glomerulus, efferent arteriole. So this is the functional unit of kidney. Functional unit of kidney is a nephron. What does that mean is one nephron does whatever all the other nephrons are doing. So it is the same thing. So if you draw one nephron, you can actually talk about kidney. So microscopic kidney here, an ant's kidney maybe. Okay, that was bizarre humor, but anyways, efferent arteriole, then peritubular capillaries, then the venous end, and then that venous end will connect back to the heart. And of course, if I wanted, in my last time the diagram I just made the lungs here in series. Ideally, I hope you are aware that the lungs system is attached in parallel. So that is really the structure here. So this is our structure which we are talking about, and in this structure we were talking about what are the hydrostatics and oncotic pressures. So the pressure, hemodynamics. So I will take you back to your original initial physiology chapters in which you talk about the pressures in a capillary, and let's just quickly review them because the pressures are the same, the factors are the same here. In a capillary, and you can ask, hey, why do we not discuss this for an artery or a vein? Well, capillary has this particular capability that it is fenestrated. The cells of capillary, they have small junctions between them. These junctions allow fluids to be moved out of them. These junctions can allow substances to move out or to move in. So as a medical student, what you need to know, what you must know is why do the substances move out or why do they move in? What are the factors? And it is actually so simple. There are just two factors which control the movement of substances outwards or inwards. Just two factors. These two factors are hydrostatic pressure, which simply means the pressure of the fluids. And remember this, let's say this is the capillary here and this is all the tissue around it. Fluid is present inside the capillary and fluid is present outside the capillary. So the hydrostatic pressure is going to be in the capillary and outside the capillary. Very important concept, very simple concept though. The hydrostatic pressure is present inside and outside. The question is, what is the net pressure? Net pressure means which one is greater. So if I say the hydrostatic pressure here is 20 millimeter of mercury and hydrostatic pressure here is 12 millimeter of mercury, that means the pressure inside is going to try to push the fluid out with 20 force, and the pressure outside is going to try to push it back with 12 force. So what do you think, which force is greater? 20 is bigger than 12. So if you subtract the 12 from 20, you'll be left with 8 net movement from inside towards outside. So if the hydrostatic pressure inside the capillary is 20 and outside the capillary is 12, you have a net pressure of 8 which will move the fluids outside. On the other hand, if you reverse it, if you say the hydrostatic pressure inside is 12 and outside is 20, which can happen in multiple diseases, edema can occur. In that case now the push of the fluids is more towards in the capillary and the push of the fluid outside is less, so it is a -8 net pressure towards from outside to the inside. So hydrostatic pressure, again simple things, two basic factors, oncotic pressure and hydrostatic pressure, but for both of them you have to see what is pushing out and what is pulling in. So when you talk about glomerulus or when you talk about peritubular capillaries, remember this, I am not going to give it up, I'm going to keep repeating it for you. You do not just talk about glomerulus and the pressures there, you talk about glomerulus and the peritubular capillaries. This is a high pressure area, this would cause filtration, this is a low pressure area, this would cause reabsorption, they both friends work together. So this is not possible that you know one and not the other one. Okay, so back here, hydrostatic pressure. Then the other one is colloid osmotic pressure or oncotic pressure. Same thing, osmotic pressure. I hope you can see this color correctly. Osmotic pressure is really the pressure exerted by the plasma proteins. Now the funny thing is this, as I said, the fluid here is going to push the substances out. The proteins here on the other